The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals who are making waves within the industry. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm excited to introduce Cynthia Spirlin. She is a real estate expert for the last 20 years. Now she has mastered contracts, short sales, and pre-foreclosures. In fact, she helped hundreds of homeowners save their homes during the 2009 crisis through her tax lien mastermind. She now empowers others to invest in property tax sales, regardless of their credit history or cash, right? She's a passionate mentor and sought after speaker as she helps aspiring investors and homeowners build wealth and financial freedom through real estate strategies like tax lien investing and foreclosure prevention. So welcome to the show, Cynthia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen. I'm glad to be here today.
So first of all, let's hear a little bit about your backstory. What was the inspiration behind helping investors? And when I say investors, I know you focus on helping people that probably don't even think they can invest because of maybe lack of cash funds, maybe poor credit. So what inspired you to help people create wealth and financial freedom through these tax liens?
Well, I was really inspired from my background growing up. My parents had their own business, and it takes about 10 years to really get a business off the ground, but they just dove right in. They met, they got married, started a family, bought their first home, and they were off to the races, just trying for that goal to live the American dream. But it was very difficult building a business and a loyal following. My parents had hair care, beauty business, and barbershop. So it was a struggle. And my mom started a daycare. And so the times was very seasonal. When summer's out for school, then, kids stay home with their family. So it was up and down. But they had a mentor. And so that's something that I learned. You need to have someone that you trust, that you can go to. And their mentor was in the midst of relocating from California to Arizona. And they had some property, and they were finding it difficult to manage the property from a distance. So they suggested that my parents buy the property, and they were just confused. You could just see the look on their face. Even as a teenager, I was like, my dad thought it was like, oh, I don't think this is a good idea. But my mother was always a risk taker. So she encouraged that they do this. And it was actually my first creative deal that I saw, because my parents didn't, like I said, they were struggling. But my dad had a life insurance policy with New York Life, and he pulled out some money from the cash value of the policy as a down payment. And the owners carried the note for my parents. And so my dad told us, my brother and I, this is what is delayed gratification. In time, you'll see that this is going to pay off for the whole family. So it did need some work. And on the weekends, we would go up there with their parents and help out. And at night, after my dad worked, he would go to the property as well and work on there a couple hours a night. So anyway, eventually they were rented. It was 4 doors. Say that 5 times. 4 doors. And plus my parents continued to work full time in their jobs and their in their careers, right? And so, but everything changed. And so I said to my dad, financially, you could just tell it was lighter around the house. There wasn't the concern like there was in months before. And I said, why don't you do this again? And my dad said, oh no, I don't like being a landlord. And I said, that's a crazy reason. Of course, he couldn't say that. I was thinking it, right? And I said, when I grow up, I'm going to do this at least 10 times. And that was it. I knew real estate was in my future.
Wow. Okay. And so for a lot of people out there, they might be thinking, there's no way I could do this because, I don't have the cash for it. I don't have a good credit score. So you must have a specific process. How do you help these people achieve financial freedom?
Well, I know how my parents felt that that was nothing in their future to be an investor in real estate. And so, again, having a mentor. So when you don't know what to do, you find a book that can be a mentor, someone that is well known and respected in that field. You can read about it and do some research from there. Or if there's no in your community, look for a real estate investment group where you can go there and make friends and create a network around other people that are being successful. So that way you can build the belief. It's like, well, if they can do it and they're a nice person and they're helpful and willing to share, then, I can do it. And so you can ask someone to be your coach there. But that's the beginning part of it, because it doesn't take a lot of money. That's what a lot of people have been programmed to believe. You need excellent credit. You need to have a lot of money saved in the bank. And some of those things are deterrent for people that have, student loan debt or different things that have happened that have made it difficult for them to have the perfect 800 credit score, or they're not able to get the promotion on their job because it's just there's nowhere to go in the job any longer. There's a glass ceiling or something like that. Some people are impacted by the wage difference. Men and women make different sums of money, but many women are head of household, and so they have to survive on less because of artificial situations like that. So the one of the ways to be able to have your first home, it's not maybe buy your dream home, but buy a home. So for example, with tax liens, that's where it's the most discounted property because the state or the municipality needs the funds from the taxes they collect from properties, whether they're raw land, residential property, commercial property, all the property in the county, in the state is taxed for revenue to run the government. And when people don't pay, they give them a warning several times, and then it's written in the law that they can sell the house or the lien against the house to collect money from investors. So it's very lucrative. Many banks and different saving large funds invest in these type of instruments, and they pay by law 18%, 16%, 12%. You can study state to state, county to county, it's different. But like, for example, in Arizona, I taught some ladies how to invest in tax liens. So we took a field trip over to Arizona, Mojave County, and they had a budget of about $1,000. One of the ladies was a pharmacist, and she bought three liens at 16% interest, with her $1,000. Okay, so in Arizona, they have what's called redemption. That means a person that owns a property has 3 years to pay back this money to the tax collector plus 16% interest. So they didn't. They did not pay it back. Can you believe that? They just let the property go. But that's what happens. And she was able to get two of the three properties, one redeemed. So she got her money back plus 16%. And then the other two did not redeem. And those properties each were worth $15,000. So she literally turned her investment, a small sum, into $30,000 altogether. Who
Wow.
couldn't do that? Who couldn't do that?
No, no. Well, you're not going to get that kind of return on your investment by putting money in a savings account, right?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, that's a phenomenal ROI. So why aren't more people doing this then, do you think?
Well, the people I talk to, they say they're afraid. And so I have this book called Art of Abundance, and to help people think in a bigger way, to have bigger dreams and to believe that there's more for them. They're afraid that if they take this money, that they won't have anything else. And so they have a job that pays them so much, and they learn to live within those parameters. So say, for example, the person makes $4,000 a month, and our cost of living is at least 50%. And then you have your taxes and insurance and all these things to pay. So how much do you really have to live on? And then you shrink your life into that amount of money. And you tell yourself that this is, like, say it's $1,000. After you pay everything, you have $1,000 left over. And maybe not even that, right? So what can you do with that money in a month's time? Coffee's almost $10 a cup at Starbucks, right? So
Crazy.
that's the problem. They've conditioned themselves. It's like, have you remember that story about the elephant that when they were a baby, they chained them until the point when they got to be a ton, they still believed that they couldn't go, but only so far.
Yeah,
That's the same,
absolutely.
that's the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's believing that you can to overcome the fear because it's so simple. You read the rules like playing Monopoly or any game. You have to read the rules of the game first. You read the rules of how to, approach the tax collector about buying this. There's a list. And so the tax collector makes a list of delinquent properties that are available for sale. And so you look at the list and then you do your due diligence. You make sure that your money's safe. They take it out from the savings account, this $1,000, to move over into this property. But it is definitely, when you do your research, you want to find out, well, what's the house worth? If I put 1,000 on here, is it worth, 50,000, 70,000? How will I get my money out? You want to know the values there in the property. It doesn't have to be in perfect condition because you're buying it for 1,000. So even if it's worth 10, you'll at least get your 1,000 back plus another $9,000. But
Right.
that you want to make sure it's worth something. Just even if it's just a dirt, like the house needs to be torn down, that's fine. Doesn't matter. You bought it for 1,000. Long as you can get your 1,000 back plus a little more, that's the question you want to answer. Then sure, buy it every day.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a win-win. So what else do you think? Why else aren't people taking advantage of these incredible offers?
Well, I think it goes back to a mentor. So sometimes, someone wants them to take them by the hand. And so that's what I did. I found that a lot of people, after I taught them, like, this is how you do it, just like I explained, then they still wouldn't take action. So that's why I thought about, let's go on a field trip together. And then we got in our cars, we drove over 90 minutes, and we did it together. So now that before 2020, most of the liens and deeds had to be bought in person. But now you can buy many of them online. More and more counties are taking their lists and putting them online through services like realauction.com. You can go there and see what's available and when the sale is and read the rules and all that kind of stuff. And so when you go and do it with someone, so I would suggest getting a partner. Because
And
you'll more likely do it when you have someone else that kind of keeps you accountable.
yes, yeah. Well, it sounds like fantastic insights there then, Cynthia. So what should the listeners do next? And this could be completely national. How would they, what would be the next logical step for them to find out more about this?
Well, the first step I would recommend is grabbing a book, going to my website, or going to a local meeting. After that, if go to on the computer and go to their county where they live. So if you live in Los Angeles or Las Vegas, you go to Clark County. Los Angeles has multiple counties, but you choose a county, and I suggest you start with your own and read their rules. How do they handle this situation? Because like in California, that's a tax deed state. So when you participate and buy a property that's on the list for delinquent properties, you actually get that property. In Arizona, it's a tax lien state. So you want to find out, do you live in a tax lien state or a tax deed state? You want to read the rules and find out what happens there, and then see what they cost, because you have to make a budget. So what's your budget? Now, of course, the taxes are very high in California. So you imagine that the delinquent taxes would be high too. So usually you want to look at that. And then I recommend people buy outside. Like Arizona, you can buy affordable, more affordable because the taxes are less. Then that's right across the way. You could drive or fly and check out the property. If you bought in Nevada, that's a deed state as well, but you can drive to that place. Now, last week I was in Orlando, Florida, and I went to participate in some auctions there and look at the property. So now I kind of venture out to other places, and that's worked out really well. But that's a difference in a state that or county that has high taxes versus low taxes, like Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, things like that.
Brilliant. So it sounds like you've got to arm yourself with knowledge for this, which, our last question is always the same because here at Icons, we're not just a podcast. We are the #1 real estate podcast network, and our passion is about making podcasting accessible for anybody involved in real estate. Now, this sounds like a topic that really needs to be, it needs to be shared. Your voice needs to be heard. So if you had your own podcast, what would you call it?
Well, I would call it Invest Like a Goddess. Invest with confidence. So I would call it Invest Like a Goddess.
Fantastic. And that's in alignment with what you do. So what should the listeners do next? How do they reach out to you if they want to find more information?
Well, the easiest way is to use this QR code to my left and or your right and click on the QR code. It'll take you to my website and you can find out more about me. And you can check out some of the books that I have online on Amazon, Art of Abundance Journal and Tax Liens in a Nutshell. So, but yeah, the QR code is the best and fastest way.
Well, the QR code's there, but if people are just listening whilst driving or they're listening on the treadmill, what is your website?
My website is investlikeagoddess.com.
Perfect. There it is. Fantastic. Cynthia, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I think that gives some hope for people who maybe previously thought that this was out of their, it's just not possible for them. But you've just shared with us that actually it is if you get the right information. So thank you for your time. And to the listeners, I'll be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate. Bye for now.